So, Lord, thank you for this time. To you be the glory. Out of darkness, he pulled light. He didn't say he had light come and just swallow it up. First, he pulled it out of darkness. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me because the Lord has anointed me to bring good news to the afflicted. He has sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives and freedom to the prisoners, to proclaim the favorable year of the Lord, the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all who mourn, to grant those who mourn in Zion, to give them a garland instead of ashes, the oil of gladness instead of mourning, the mantle of praise instead of a spirit of fainting. So they will be called oaks of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he may be glorified. Well, it's a big Bible. Got to have big print. I'm getting older. Over in Ephesians is such a wonderful book. I feel like the former place that all of us sitting here have been, and many of you out there are in or coming out of. Ephesians 4:17. So this I say and affirm together with the Lord, that you walk not just as the Gentiles walk, in the futility of their mind. Is not anywhere but in the mind after we come unto the Lord. It has been Satan's place of training us to think that we are independent, self-centered individuals who we are independent beings. That's what Satan tells us. That you, oh my gosh, yes, it took two to get you here, to come together, and an incubation time of about 9 months to form you into a human being to walk in the earth. But Satan said, I will start from the get-go and tell you, you are independent. God said, that's the futility of your mind. But that's with you when you are in his camp, which is where we are before we come unto Jesus. And he says, because he says you have been in the futility of your mind, being darkened in your understanding. You are excluded from the life of God because of ignorance. And the ignorance is, I think, I can be God. Gee whiz. But he says, you did not learn Christ that way in verse 20. If indeed you have heard him, until you make a true commitment and say, Jesus, I believe you died on the cross for me. I believe my sins were nailed there with you. I don't understand one thing about it, but I know I can't live this life. I need someone else to live it. You said you'd do that. Somewhere you said that you paid the sin and the penalty and you would do it. So I'm taking you for it. So anyway, he says that do I need to get a different mic? I keep going in and out on this mic. Grab the other one. Okay, I'm going to grab another mic. Hold on just a second. And this one I don't have to do anything to. Oh, yay. I tell you, this whole couple weeks preparing for this time, I've been through a whole lot of stuff, because before we come here, before this happens, Satan doesn't want you to hear the truth, but the truth will set you free, and that's what I'm trying to get to here. In that, he says, Notice how you use this. It isn't something that you lay aside on a table. Anyway, if you did not learn Christ this way, if indeed you have heard him and have been taught of him, just as truth is in Jesus. And he says, referring to your former manner of life, you now lay aside the old self, which is being corrupted in accordance with the lusts of deceit, and that you renew the spirit of your mind, and put on the new self. Why would he tell you there's a new self? There's a new self. The old self died on the cross. That's why there was a death, burial, and resurrection. That's why there's two parts to the cross. There isn't just that he shed his blood for my sins, but there's the death of the body, the sacrificial life laid down that was risen again. That God himself brought up the body from the dead. There was a new creation for our behalf. If there had not been a new creation in a resurrected Christ, none of us have any hope. But he said, I have come because I'm going to bring you back to what I created you to be. Which is this wonderful, wonderful creation to express his life of love. And he says, above all things in this same chapter, put on love. Put on love. That's the new self. How do I do that? I believe what he says is true about me. And it starts with baby steps. It starts with it. But you have to say, and people say, oh, no, you don't have to do anything. It's all grace, grace, grace. Well, yeah, it is the grace of God that has done it all. But he says, declare it, because everything in this atmosphere here is telling you, you are not a new creation. But God himself is saying to you, I have done it. I am the new creation in you. I have made you right with me, the one who created you originally to be an expression, a love expression throughout all of eternity and all of my universes and all of everything. Because God said, I knew I couldn't just be unto myself. That's what Satan did. He said, he saw. He was right in the presence of God all the time, and he saw this. But pride rose up in him and said, gosh, I know what it is. I'm light. I'm a light bearer. I know what bearing light is. I know what all that's about. I will be like the Most High God. And if you go to Isaiah 14, is it 14, Sylvia? You will see in there, I will be, I will be, I will be. What is the biggest word in the human language, in whatever language? I this, I that. It's not about I. It's about him. It's about the Creator God and his love life being expressed in and through and by us. The greatest thing that ever happened. And we are just beginning to understand it. But I want to declare to you that greater is he that is in you than he that is in the world. He will perfect that which concerns you. Trust and obey, for there's no other way to be happy in Jesus but to trust and obey. I used to think trusting was okay, obeying was another subject. I didn't like in Hebrews where it said Jesus learned obedience through suffering. And many of you have heard my suffering story, so we're not going there. But the bottom line is that the suffering it isn't what the things are that I go through in life. for you out there, I did I don't know what, a tumble thing down onto some cement last Thursday, a week ago Thursday, and I had a big pool of blood underneath my head and didn't look real promising. But God, it's not the things that happen to you. It's not the loss of the loved one. It's not my marriage that went to hell. It's about the suffering that you might know that there's a life that in the midst of whatever I'm in, because there's not one person listening to me that hasn't been through or isn't presently in something that they wish they weren't in. And sometimes it seems insurmountable. But I'm here to tell you, I'm here. I've walked through these things. Well, what happened? Jesus. And there's a peace that passes understanding. When I fell the other night, all I said was, Jesus, Jesus, Jesus. And he has a sense of humor, because in the midst of all that and blurry vision and all that, he says, by the way, you got your cell phone in your pocket. Maybe you want to call Sylvia and tell her that you're on her garage floor. So anyway, that's the bottom line. I don't even know what time it is, so I don't want to go past where I'm supposed to be. But I just want to encourage you in the faith to trust God and to believe what he says is true. Now, Sylvia's going to go into telling you about the difference between Adam and Christ, what Adam happened to Adam, and then go on to the fruition of through Christ and just intercession in the whole 9 yards. We're going why we live the lives we live, why we go through what we go through. And it's not because God's into quote unquote pain and suffering. It's because he loves somebody so much that I'm willing to lay down my life that you have life. So when he so overcomes you with love life, you really don't care what happens to you. What you're after is the truth for somebody else to come through. So believe that what God says is true about you, that I love you. You are my best. I picked you. In John 15, it says, you go through it says here, big banner, you're seeing that there's a possibility. It says, whosoever will, and you say, Jesus, I will. Oh, I will. Oh, I will. I do want you as my Lord and Savior, and I do believe what you said, and I do believe the Father. And you walk across and you turn around and you look, and it says, you didn't choose me, I chose you. But there's a choice there to be made by every human being. That's why he said we were lost in darkness. But inside of every man is a possibility, is the seed that God planted way back in humanity, that it could respond to him. I'm saying respond to Jesus today. Take him. He is true to his word. And love you.